Hello, this is Tom Hood, CEO of the Maryland Association of CPAs. Welcome to our summer update of what's happening in federal legislation, accounting standards, and state legislation. Lots of stuff going on. May 28th, we actually made the headlines. Maryland accountants should be CPAs. Lawyers escape financial reform bills debate unscathed. That article ran after over 100 members in the middle of our town halls stopped during breaks and called Senator Mikulski and Cardin to ask them to oppose an amendment that would have created excessive extra liability for CPAs. Let's cover the federal legislative and regulatory issues, starting with the Wall Street Reform and Consumer Financial Protection Act, also known as the Dodd-Frank Act. This bill passed the Senate last week and is now on its way to President Obama for signature into law. 5 major things were prevented in that bill by major advocacy efforts on behalf of the MACPA, many other state CPA societies, and the AICPA. And this is the effort that was written about in that BBJ article I talked about. So let me just tell you the kind of 5 things that we stopped. And we'll be watching that as it gets passed into law and see if there's anything else that we have to worry about. CPAs and staff are exempt from registration under this new Consumer Financial Protection Agency. Originally, we were under a definition included in the bill, and with lots of work got out of that. So we will be exempt, as will your staff, from having to register and pay fees to this new federal agency. We stopped the Specter Amendment, which was aiding and abetting. That would have increased liability of auditors to equal that of the people that commit frauds in major companies, and that's the one specifically the BBJ covered. We also stopped Congress taking over financial accounting standard setting. That was an earlier amendment in this process. Auditors of broker-dealers, that would, if it's a non-custodial broker, that would be up to the PCAOB to decide whether or not they are required to be audited by a PCAOB registered firm. But most other, certainly all custodial broker-dealers will have to be audited by PCAOB firms. The 5th one was SOX 404B. They did put an exemption for public companies under 75 million. They would be exempt from that new requirement. So that's a major 2,000-page piece of legislation. And the scary part is it's far from over. They expect 533 regulations, 60 separate congressional studies, and 94 reports will all come out of that massive piece of legislation. So we still have to watch kind of the details of those things, but for the most part, we did well. Another big federal issue, FTC red flags. That's the identity theft thing you might have heard about. It was originally supposed to be implemented June 30. It's gotten delayed. AICPA has filed lawsuit along with the bar, and that one now has been pushed back to a December 31st implementation. Stay tuned for that, and we'll get you more information. And then on the tax area, with the IRS, there's been a ton of things going on. Members have been writing and getting upset, lots of stuff. IRS preparer registration, just like what we went through in Maryland 2 years ago. They're going to register tax preparers and CPAs. You will be exempt from that in this first cut. There's a couple of other details we're working on, but that also has the PTIN initiative in it, and PTINs are actually going to be used to segregate classes of tax preparers. So you'll have the CPA, tax attorney, enrolled agent, and then this new class of registered tax preparers, kind of what they're proposing. So that those folks, just like Maryland, will have to take a test, get registered, if you will, file a PTIN, and then take CPE to be able to do tax returns. IRS 1099, this was in the Healthcare Act. This is will be implemented in 2012 or 2013. This is where you'll have to file 1099s for all transactions, and there's all kinds of work being done to either roll that back or certainly make it less onerous. For instance, one area is they've exempted any credit card payments from you having to do 1099s on those. So that's at least one part. But we're going to be working really hard on contacting Congress and the IRS about that one. Sub-S payroll, this is another one. This was a sneak in raising taxes. They actually proposed filing payroll taxes for sub-S corporations, and that's another one that's being asked to be rolled back as well. So we'll be advocating on almost all of those. And this one's more of an FYI, but the IRS, ever since FIN 48 got enacted as a standard relative to uncertain tax positions, the IRS is now using that as a roadmap to audit. So that's the kind of state of the federal area. So that's not enough. We'll give you some things on the state side. Here's what we're looking forward to in 2011. This is an election year, as many of you know, and Maryland will be facing, they estimate right now, about a $1.5 billion deficit. So in that case, we expect lots of tax legislation. Our Legislative Executive Committee and Board of Directors met not too long ago and came up with basically a 5-item agenda for 2011. Support the state board. We have to get this 120, 150 legislation passed, and we're going to try to do that as emergency legislation. Number 2, stop sales tax on accounting, tax, and consulting services. We expect that bill in, and that one will be require lots of grassroots support to get that one out. Stop debt counseling registration for CPAs. Yeah, you heard that right. The Maryland State Legislature last year proposed in Senate Bill 701 that anyone who has anything to do with business or consumer debt, counseling, if you will, or talking to them about debt, would be required to register under this new license that the state would be issuing. We exempted or got CPAs exempt in the first cut. They put it in summer study. It is expected back again this year, so we would need to carve us out of that one. Tort reform, that one might happen this coming year, so we would want to stop efforts to liberalize the tort laws to increase lawsuits. And then finally, there will be a lot of tax legislation which we would require CPAs to kind of make recommendations on. Now let's talk about financial accounting standard setting. That's another big area that's going on. 3 areas here we're watching. 1, IFRS, public companies. The deadline is still 2011 when the SEC will make a decision, although they've delayed the roadmap by 1 year, moving back the deadline from 2014 to 2015 for the first large public companies that would be needed to file. Second is the FASB IASB convergence project. Now this is was set with a due date of mid-2011. That's less than a year away. And the major concern here is 9 major projects, including complete revamping of the financial statement presentation. That means the entire financial statement prep area, how you present it, would be completely changed. Revenue recognition, lease accounting. And so the concern here is there's too many of these standards for you to actually digest and react to quick enough. So we're going to work on trying to move those dates back and stagger the release of those. So we'll be writing to FASB on that one. And then the third major area is the Financial Accounting Foundation's Blue Ribbon Task Force on Private Company Standards. That group is actually looking at separate standards for private companies, and we expect that report out by end of summer or into the fall. And so that could change another major kind of area of our financial accounting standards, in which you'd have an entirely new set of private company financial standards that we would be starting to develop. So those 3 big areas, federal legislation, state legislation, and financial accounting standards, are continuing to be of major concern to lots of our members. Stay tuned for updates through the town halls this fall. We'll be running around the state getting your input on those. And so here's how we're going to be successful dealing with this sea change of things that are going on. PAC, we have a political action committee. Please think about contributing to that. And that's how we will get to know legislators and support existing friends as we go into this new election. CPA Day in Annapolis. Mark your calendars, January 19th, 2011, at the Governor Calvert House in Annapolis. So it's about a half-a-day program. Get down there early. We'll get you the issues and get you up on the hill so we can let legislators know what CPAs are worried about. Town hall meetings, attend those free 4-hour CPE modules and get educated on all these issues, and then help us so that when we need to mobilize and actually get Congress or state legislators involved, you all can help us make them vote the right way. And then finally, We're also working on a tax study with the Chamber of Commerce and several other major associations, business associations in the state of Maryland, so that we have a place to talk to legislators about as we get this upcoming session, and certainly be able to say, here's what the economic impact of any proposed tax increases are, especially in light of us being in this recession. So that's our major update for the summer. I hope to see you in the town hall soon, and we'll give you the rest of the story. Stay tuned looking at our website and our blogs, and certainly contact our Member Service Center if you have any questions. Thank you very much.